I'm back with another one, and in a couple. So I made a, I made a lot. I made a lot of comments that a person would be like, that could be attributed to a respectful, tactful donkey. That is a respectful, tactful ass of a person. And I even did a couple call myself talking about lovers and also about flirting. And actually, like some people like Osho would say that a lot of your real romantics and like troubadours and like poets, like real eloquent and like lovely and romantic, but also maybe bombastic and pretentious poets, maybe you can't actually isolate the loveliness and the cleverness and the romance from the bombastic, the verbose, the pretentious, and the superfluous expenditure of verbiage. You might not be able to entirely dispense with that because you have to go through a lot of that to become eloquent, just the practice of it. But you'd have to be clever and effective enough to actually survive and not get the right tomato thrown in your face that prevents you from making further statements of a tactful and erudite donkey. And actually, there's nothing wrong with donkeys because they're hardworking and they're humble. Most animals are completely hardworking and humble, so no shots at donkeys. But you sometimes Osho said that actually the most romantic poets and so forth, maybe even romantics and songwriters, are actually the worst of lovers if they ever got around to being lovers at all. But actually, you would need that. So if I were to say, so I got this video, I did that much to say that I'm gonna, with this video, maybe give you the exact right lines to make someone fall in love with you, so much in love that they will follow you to the afterlife. And it's not really love unless someone's really to follow you through this life and the afterlife with whatever, and not with and without resources, but more so without, if it had really been love. I've actually seen people who are homeless lovers and like sticking together through hard times, through that form of hard times. And if that's not the realest shit I've ever seen, I really don't know what is, and wouldn't be interested in what is. But I'm gonna give you some lines that might actually make someone follow you through this life into the afterlife with this video, if I can get it in the clock. And one thing that's been said is that so if you were to really refine something like the perfect words, the perfect lines, you would actually need to try a lot of the similar thing a lot. Like Einstein has said, to try the same thing, to repeat something and expect a different outcome is insanity. But I might beg to differ that he's not wrong, but that's actually the knack of brilliance, because a lot of people like Edison and your Wright brothers, as we're presented with them, they were doing more so of the same thing. And the author Nassim Nicholas Taleb said that greatest inventions, they're not so much a concept and an idea that is overlaid upon reality with a preconceived outcome in mind. As though I'm going to engineer something, so I want something to do something, so I'm going to conceive and conspire to do this to get it to do what I want. That's not impossible, because all things are possible, but more accurately, what would likely amount to a real discovery is that we have a knack for something, a hunch for something, and then we try it, and then we tinker ever so much and keep trying and keep tinkering, and keep trying and keep tinkering, and then boom, now we actually found fool's gold. Fool's gold might be better than real gold, because you wouldn't have to extend yourself as much to discover it. And if you can pass it off as gold, what's the difference? But now you have gold on your hands because you had been just ever so tinkering, and then boom, you got something. But you had maybe had a hunch about something, what will push you in that directive, and that hunch would be maybe the real discoverer, and it was just more so using you, just like I said in another video, maybe something called candida, according to R.C. Tyler, is a bacteria that informs us to like a lot of poor decision making, especially around food, having the food for itself, for us, for itself. And maybe a lot of ideas in discovery are something similar, where if it's not even that same candida that's up to this, because now it needs us to discover something so we can find more interesting ways to travel to different places and exist within different conditions to consume more unhealthy stuff. But maybe it had actually been the candida discovering stuff and putting us up to something. So you see somebody up to something, like, so you see somebody up to some mischief, it was more so significant is not them, but who put them up to that. So maybe it's this candida that's putting us up to discovering cool stuff, but we had a hunch that was like a gut feeling or deeper than ourselves that amounted to us tinkering long enough to discover a knack to get something done. So I'm going to offer some lines with this, but all I meant to say is that your different like fancy like different things you would say to someone can amount to practice, that can amount to refining something, and now you have a formula on your hands of how valuable would that be if you had the formula for charm. But I've actually been like floating different stuff in public, and one is that, so I've come to appreciate that a lot of times people actually know where we are at in our development and what some people know something of us before we do, and they can appreciate our development before we do. But that, so one of that is like sometimes I was taking care of like passengers, like students this fall, and they got to fist fighting while I was actually in the front of the bus talking to some students about how costly. I read a book about violence that said that anytime you employ violence, it's very costly on many levels, and your most formidable like protectors and shepherds, like soldiers, they're more so as capable as they are, and trained as they are, they're more so looking to avoid conflict and detection because they're more so concerned with the mission than employing combat or fighting, because that's just an expenditure even to them. And you think in those terms, even the greatest of masters is not trying to waste anything, and is therefore trying to be economic and conservative, which is its immortality according to Arthur Avalon. But it's similar with highly capable people, is that they're more so looking to be economic and reduce expenses. Even someone like your billionaires and so forth, I would imagine billionaires to be counting pennies more than dollars, because it's more so about what's working and efficient than what's grand. Even what's more profound than a grand bank account is a bank account that works, that where the pennies are being accounted for and are working. But all I meant to say is that but one way that you can appreciate that you're developing is, so as I was telling them how expensive violence is. Some kids got to fist fighting in the back of the bus, but I was actually able to talk them off of each other and not have to call the authorities. And then I worked with what respect they gave me to get them off of each other, and then also to get them to respect each other. And I commended them for actually being able to be talked out of fighting. And that would, to me, that would constitute the first appearance of their actual instincts and bearing as men, to listen to reason over the emotions and the adrenaline of fighting, to listen to reason within combat fighting, to come back to peaceful, amicable terms is a high degree of development. So me, as a more seasoned man, I'm actually recognizing something of men in these boys that I can appreciate. But sometimes you wonder, like, but sometimes also people appreciate your development before you get there. So people might appreciate that, yeah, actually you're an old ass man now. So when I was a young person, sometimes I would meet women, like when I was like working as a delivery driver, like in my late 20s, and it would be my birthday, and they're like you're about 29, you're about 28. Damn, I thought you were a little ass boy this whole time. But that's cool that you look like that, because then when you get to be older, people are going to still think that you're younger. But I didn't get to have the experience of like being like being like a cool, like looked at as like a cool grown ass man to these young women. That might have been cool too, but they're still saying like, damn, you look like a little ass kid. But that's cool. But actually, like, even now I might look a little bit younger in appearance, because people can shave 10 years off my age when I ask them how old I think they am. But sometimes you do start to be a little bit of a more seasoned man, and people can appreciate that. One is that your back isn't the same thing that it used to be. So where I'm at, we had a white February about 6 years back, and I was doing snow removal for an elderly person who was actually in some of his final days at that point. But I did so much snow removal that I can still feel it in my back, and that's one difference of maturity, is that your back doesn't do the same thing it used to. You can do. I'm not out the game yet. I can still have a good time with my back, but it's not what it had been. And so but another thing of development is that when do you actually? I was listening to a neighbor, and he said, "Yeah, man, I'm going to be an older man now. I still work, but I don't make as much money as I used to, and I'm going to be an older person." But when do you really appreciate yourself as being older? One is that it takes you longer to get to your point. So I've been showing that with these videos. And another one, if you're from my generation, is when people no longer know what the song "I Got 5 on It." So I was asking a younger person today, like, do you know? She gave me back $5 of change. I was like, I was just wondering if you know the song "I Got 5 on It," and she didn't know what the hell I was talking about. But one of her coworkers did. She's like, "I got 5 on it," and that actually shows you that I'm getting up a little bit, because like, you know, a song that cool, but a lot of people don't know what that is. But another development but all I meant to say is, so I said that cool to her, but before I got around to saying that, she was like, "Are you paying with cash?" Yes, I'm paying with cash. That's all I had to say to be cool. I would have been way cooler walking in and out there if she would have said, "Are you paying with cash today?" Yes, I'm paying with cash. And then give her the money. So that's how you fall in love with someone. Yes, I'm paying with cash. It don't gotta be more than that. That's the line right there. That's the move. Yes, I'm paying with cash.